Remember, in a culture of communication, everyone understands the what. I recently got a call from a CEO who was concerned because his performance feedback told him that no one in his company could actually figure out the message or what they were supposed to be working on. And Victor was really baffled. He prided himself on the investment he was making in communications training, in offsites and leadership trainings and all hands. So he asked if I could help him figure out what was happening. And I asked if I could sit in and listen and attend some of those trainings. And after some of those presentations and meetings, I asked everybody 2 questions. What did you say, and what was the most important? And what did you hear, and what was the most important? And if they had a great culture of communication like Victor believed, those answers should have been pretty much the same. If it was a Venn diagram, that middle circle should have been really overlapped. But actually, there was almost no overlap. No one could agree on what they were supposed to have heard and prioritized, and therefore be working on. And why was that? We have a tendency to cram a lot of information into a really short amount of space, or a small amount of space. We tend to try and get out as much as possible into a single message, a single presentation, communication, email, meeting, or all hands. It's a human tendency, but it's really hard on our audience. And that's what was happening in Victor's company. There was so much information being presented, and no one was saying, this is what I want you to pay attention to. This is what I want you to prioritize. And therefore, this is what I want you to work on. So Victor's company ran into something that I know you will all run into. It's attention science, cognitive science. It's called attention fatigue and cognitive load. These are 2 things that are really important for you to know about. Attention fatigue. We are really busy. We have a lot of information coming at us all the time. There's just a lot to figure out. What should we pay attention to? What should we block out? In what order? And how much brain space should I give it? So it is really hard to get real estate in someone's mind, to pierce that fog. That's attention fatigue. And then once you've done that, you then have to deal with the way the brain processes information, how it absorbs, understands, remembers, catalogs information, and how hard it is for the brain to do that depending on the complexity or how information is presented. That is cognitive load. So being a good communicator means you also have to take into account attention fatigue and cognitive load. And that's what we're going to talk about now. How you can do that, what you need to do as a communicator to make it easy. So let's do that now. To solve for attention fatigue and cognitive load, we want to think about 3 big things. What is the big idea? Let's present one main idea for people to make it easy for them to absorb it, remember it, prioritize it. Then we want to think about what goes first. What information are we giving people first? And then what are we putting next, in what sequence? That's how we guide people cognitively. And then finally, what time and space do we need? There's a human tendency to take up a lot of time and a lot of space. If you've ever sat through a presentation that was supposed to be 30 minutes and went on for 60, you know exactly what I mean. So I'm going to walk you through how to do this in a really compelling way so that you leave here today as a masterful communicator. So let's start with the concept of sticking to one big idea. Remember that no one on Victor's team could figure out what they were supposed to prioritize and therefore what they were supposed to work on. And this is really common. We have a tendency to cram a lot of information and a lot of ideas into a single communication. And that can be an email, a presentation, a text message, anything. But it's really hard for the brain. And I know, I get a lot of pushback on this. Hey, our jobs, our mandates are complex. We've got a lot of information from disparate places. But if you try to communicate too much information at one time, you may as well not communicate anything at all. If you try to communicate too much in one communication, you will not be effective at all. So you've got to prioritize one big idea. When you prioritize one big idea, you can subcategorize everything else. This helps people understand what they should care about, in what order, and how to pay attention to everything else that comes after. And in this way, you're helping people with that touchstone, what they should know, what the message is. And this helps reduce attention fatigue and cognitive load. And as a communicator, it's your job to do that, not your listeners. Let's look at the second technique. What are you going to communicate first? If you listen carefully, most people communicate backwards. What do I mean by that? A lot of times, listen to your teams or listen to yourself. A lot of times, we start with what we're doing, when we're doing it, who we're doing it with, where we're doing it, how we're doing it. But we're not actually communicating the so what, the context. You might think, what's the problem with that? I'll get there eventually. But when we bury the punchline, when we bury the so what, people's brains start ticking. They start thinking about all the other details that we've given them. And by the time we get to the punchline, there's no cognitive energy left to get to the so what. People are spent. And think about attention fatigue and cognitive load. We have used it up. So we need to flip the script about how we communicate. We need to start with the so what, give people the hook, and then finish with all those other details. It makes it cognitively so much easier. This explains the rise of TLDR. Right at the top, we tell people, this is what we need you to care about and why, and all the rest of the information will be there after that. Again, when you do this, you will be seen as a much more masterful and strategic communicator. It becomes easier to listen to you, to understand you, to follow you.